Hey there! Welcome to Pixels, Clicks, and ROI, the AdSkills podcast where we only interview paid traffic professionals who can produce real results. Today's episode is a special one. I'm interviewing Tracy Rye. Tracy is not an agency owner. She actually works as a full-time media buyer inside of an agency, and her story is very special. She made the jump from being a full-time teacher to a full-time media buyer. So if you or someone you know is considering making a career change, you're looking for something with a little bit more flexibility and freedom, you're going to want to make sure you watch this episode. More on Tracy's story right after this. Hey Tracy, so glad you're here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi John, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, just so everyone knows, so Tracy's one of our favorite students at AdSkills. This episode is going to be a little different than our usual episode because usually we're talking to agency owners about the process they use to take people from the level of kind of they have been very successful with paid advertising to now being able to run fully on a particular network. Tracy's a little bit different, and I really enjoy Tracy's story because Tracy started as a teacher and now is a full-time media buyer with a completely different lifestyle. So what I would love for you to do is to just briefly share a little bit of the background of kind of where you were, where you are now, and then we'll kind of dig into the process that you got there. So once again, welcome and thanks for sharing.
Okay. Yeah, I actually started, I was a teacher, an elementary school teacher for 10 years and loved it, my passion. I never would have left teaching. And my son got sick, and so I was forced to kind of find something to do from home with some flexible hours. And I actually was a teacher with Shauna, and I knew that she had left teaching to go do something, and I follow her traveling the world and doing all these amazing things, but didn't know what she did. And when I needed to stay home, I called her and I said, okay, what are you doing? I'm interested, I need something. And my thought when I first talked to her was that this would be temporary. I just need something to hold me over until I can get back into teaching, until my son is better. And it actually turned out to be quite different than that. And I ended up digging into the classes and really loving it and actually being able to relate it quite a bit to teaching, which is funny to me. I never would have made the connection there. And now my son is better. He goes to school, and I was asked to come back to teaching, and I told them they were crazy. I fully enjoy what I'm doing now. And making the income that I need to stay home more than I was as a teacher. And and that's kind of how I went from there to here, and I love it. And I'm so glad that I made the leap, and I'm so grateful that I was able to find this.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So just to understand right now, what's your current position, who are you working with, and what exactly do you do on a daily basis?
I am a media buyer. I am working for an agency called Digital Napkin, and I run the ads in Facebook for an ads manager, and that's my main job is running the ads.
Okay, perfect. And that's that piece. I just want to make sure people clearly understand. I'm sure you're the same way. When people ask my wife, what do I do? She's kind of like, well, how do I explain this?
I had to think about that. I'm like, well.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a digital media buyer for an agency running Facebook advertising. Mm-hmm. And so from the perspective, the things that you shared are the things that are super important. The fact that, you were put in a position where you had to make a change based on a life circumstance. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, whether that be their child having to stay home and they can't go into work. Maybe someone lost a job, something like that. A lot of people are having situations in life right now that require more flexibility. And so that's something that you and I probably can both agree that media buying really allows that. We can do our jobs from anywhere in the world. I moved back from Seattle to Michigan and nothing changed. That's a piece that I think that we both really appreciate about that. So media buying is a very unique career. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand. Like you said, it's just kind of this wizardry that we do in the background. So what I would really love to do, now that people kind of understand where you were and where you're at now, let's talk about the process that you went through to get you here. So when you had this news that your son was sick, you were going to have to stay home, you had to make a career change, basically, at least in the short term. You couldn't continue to get income doing what you used to do. Now you had to come up with something different. And so you talked to Shauna. Shauna's been involved in the internet marketing industry. She and Justin have done very well for a very long time. But when you reached that point where she said, okay, this is something you should look into, how did things start? Did you just start digging into the courses? What was kind of the process there?
I did start digging into the courses first to get a feel for what I was in for. Shauna she said, I literally want you to take lesson 1 and then spend a day freaking out because it was a lot of information, a lot of new things to learn. But as I continued, I found that I was just loving it and relating it to what I was doing. I felt like it was something that I could do, which was awesome, because I was really nervous that, I know where they are and I'm here, and can I do that? Can I really, leave my job? And the more I got into it, I got to a point where I had to make a decision. And you asked about some of the decisions that I had to make. How long will this take me, before I can make money? Can we afford to do that? And my husband and I had to make a decision on, can I leave teaching? Because I got to a point where my leave was over, and I either had to go back to teaching and figure something out with my son or take this on. And I found that, AdSkills had a marketplace where I could post a job and say, this is what I know so far. I'm certified. I finished the media buying master's course, but I don't have any experience yet. And I had multiple people reply to me very quickly, yes, we're looking for someone just like you. And that's what helped alleviate the risk for me, was knowing that once I'm certified, there is an area that I can go and find work, at whatever level I'm at. And I started as a junior media buyer with amazing companies and amazing people that showed me how to do things, how to set up an ad. This is, and really answered all my questions. And then I also had ProLeague, where I could go in there and say, I'm stuck here. I'm not sure about this. And between the two, really got my footing for what I was doing. And then later, the same thing, AdSkills helped me find another position as a full-time media buyer, where I'm at now. And it's been an amazing journey. And there is definitely some risk, and it's scary to leave the job that you're at, or, a situation that you're in. But now I'm able to go spend time in my kids' classrooms and take them to school and pick them up from school and travel. And like you said, I can travel, and if I take my laptop with me and I get up in the morning and I do my work, and then I can go spend the rest of the day at the beach. And I definitely didn't have that flexibility before. And so it's a win-win to me. I absolutely love what I'm doing. And I have this flexibility that before I stopped teaching, I didn't even know I was missing it. I thought, no, this is the way everybody lives. They go to work during the day. My kids were in daycare until 4:00. That's not a big deal. Come home, you're trying to make dinner and you're stressing out. And that's just the way life is. And it's not like that anymore.
That's awesome. It's so cool to hear you tell that story. And I appreciate you kind of walking through the entire process of what that looked like. You hit on a couple very important things that I want to kind of go through and unpack. So let's start at the beginning. You kind of had this opportunity where you had some leave, you were home taking care of your son, and you started to learn. And then you kind of hit that point where your leave was running up and you had this decision. So, I think that's the piece right now, is everyone's kind of has this, should I stick with, the devil or the devil you don't, right? That's kind of the big decision that a lot of people get to. And from that perspective, it's really hard to say, you know what, I have guaranteed income over here. I can go back and take my own job. Or I have this opportunity with this greater, this lifestyle that people are talking about. There's flexibility. There's all these different things. What made you feel comfortable making that leap to say, I'm willing to give this, to take this risk because I see greater opportunities here? What was kind of the thoughts that were in your head when you were making that decision that made you feel like you could take a chance on yourself?
I think just having that forum of people that I knew were looking, that I didn't have to go find that myself. I didn't have to go, knock on businesses, down the street and ask them to please let me, try something with them. Instead, there was this forum of people that understood where I was at, what it's like to be a beginner, and were interested in hiring me. And that, having that out there gives you peace of mind that you're going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. There is somewhere to go for help. And that if I was ever stuck, that there is another forum that I can talk to these people and ask. Some of my questions in the beginning I felt were so not worthy. Like some of these, they're asking these huge questions. I don't even understand the questions. I used to love to go in there and just sit and read questions just to try to figure out what they were talking about. And I was never greeted with anything but, wonderful people, more than willing to answer me, willing to get on the phone with me. Did that make sense? How can I help you further? Feel free to, message me anytime with other questions. And having that, that was amazing. And that really helped me feel safe, that I was going to be okay, that I could make this jump, and there are people there that will support me.
That's awesome. So I think just to make that, basically reiterate that, with a lot of positions, people go to school, they come out, and a lot of job positions say we need 2 to 4 years of experience. So good luck getting started, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's most important here is there's so much demand on the media buying side, especially in our community. What we've built up is a plug and play of people looking for media buyers, and being open to the fact that understanding you don't have to have 10 years worth of experience to do this. There's an opportunity for people of all skill levels. So there's built-in demand at every level, as long as, especially from the certification side, people with our stamp of certification, we know you've gone through it, you've put in the work, and now there's opportunities available for you. That's huge to making sure that people feel that level of confidence. So thank you for sharing that. Now let's talk about the second piece. Is you felt like you could do it, and there was opportunities available for you. But obviously the money part here is really important, right? Money is a stress for a lot of families. So when you left your teaching, when you were on leave for your teaching gig, and you were looking at the media buying side, and then just kind of came this point of, oh no, the leave's almost up, should I take a chance on myself? I know that money was a factor in there. So let's talk for a second about how long did it take you to build up the opportunities to basically be net even from I left my teaching job to now I'm making at least the same amount or more? What did that window look like?
I took about 3 or 4 months, and part of that was me just coming to realize that this could work. I think I could have done it quicker, but I took about 3 or 4 months just to take the courses. And after that point, within 6 months, about 6 months, I was making what I was making as a teacher.
Okay. So it was about 6 months. And, there's that piece of, I understand, this is the biggest thing when it comes to making career changes, is how much time is it going to take you to at least get back to the same level? Mm-hmm. And so your answer was 6 months. You probably could have done it faster, but 6 months is kind of how long it took you.
And when I was done with my courses. So I would say total, roughly a little less than a year.
Okay. So when you look at that, let's talk for a second. I want to get on the emotional side of this. And I know this is important stuff, but as you're looking at this, I remember when I left my job at Google, I was at a spot where it was like, hey, I've got a little bit of cushion, but I don't have, I can't do this for 2 years trying to go figure out what I want to do. This has to happen fairly quickly. So I remember seeing my savings account starting to go down. And that's a horrible feeling, right? When you see your savings account starting to go down. And then I remember I got my first client, and it was super exciting to be like, yes, I know that I can do this. I'm making a difference to a company. I still wasn't back at the level that I wanted to be, but I was not losing money as fast. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. And then the next month I was closer, and then I was break even. And then from that point, I started to make more and more and more money than what I was making when I was at Google. So can we talk for a second on your end as you're looking at this? Did you have a similar circumstance? And how did you kind of deal with that? I'm below what I used to be making, and how am I going to get back there? And then now where are you at? You said that you're making more than you used to. I just want to kind of talk about, that's an emotional roller coaster that we all go through. And the goal here is obviously to make that as short of a roller coaster as possible. How did you handle that?
For sure. It was tough. And actually for us, it was kind of a double whammy because my son was in and out of the hospital. Okay. And so we had medical bills coming in at the same time that I was looking to cut my income. So we were, really thinking, how are we going to pay for this? And we sat down one day and I just said, I'm either going to go back to teaching and never look at this again. And this is after I had started the courses, because about the time that I finished the courses was the time that I needed to make a decision to leave teaching or to continue on with this. And, I said, I really like this. I really liked what I was doing. I thought I could do it. I really felt a lot of support. And we just took a leap and said, I feel like if I could even start to get hands-on experience and still be getting paid. I mean, it wasn't what I was making as a teacher, but the fact that somebody was willing to teach me and pay me at the same time gave me confidence that I was going to be where I needed to be. And it was a conversation I had with the people I was working with when I started. I can't be at this amount, until this amount of time, and then I need to be making more. And they said, as long as you can, show that you're worth that, we're willing to do that. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are willing to work with you and how much you need to be making, as long as you're progressing. And you can progress so quickly in this. It's so amazing. And the difference between going to college for 4 years and coming out and then needing to start getting trained in what you actually want to do is as you're working every single day, there still is not a day that goes by that I don't learn something new, and you're surrounded by people that know so much. And so they're teaching you and you're learning as you experience things. And I really started to feel that before I needed to take that leap. And it was definitely, it's a leap of faith, but I wasn't scared. I knew that it was going to be all right. And we did. And, like I said, I was like, either I go back to this life that we had before, or there's this kind of light in front of us that we could make our life better. And just being supported, really more than anything. AdSkills has such a support system out there for finding work and for having, a community of people that want to help you. You don't get that with any other job.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So you've explained kind of that process of getting through, I call it the bottom of the trough. It's like that bottom of the roller coaster. Now let's talk about some of the benefits that you've gotten out of media buying that you didn't initially anticipate. What are some of the things? How has it helped your family? What are some of the, we talked about flexibility, we talked about income. What are the things that you really enjoy about this because it's a continual learning and changing environment? What are some of the hidden benefits you didn't realize?
Well, some of it actually just have to do with the job itself. I really did love teaching. And part of what I loved so much is I usually worked with kids that were struggling. And I found that this was so much like that I didn't feel like I was leaving my passion. I was just changing, how I was doing it. Researching is one of my favorite things. And it was the same thing with kids. You have a child that comes to you that's struggling, and you look at what they've done in the past, what other teachers have tried with them that worked or didn't work. What systems do you have available that you can try with them to see, hey, maybe this will work, this didn't work. And it's a constant reassessing, okay, we tried this system for 2 months. Let's see, if it's making gains for them. Well, it's the same thing with ads. The research is the most important thing. If you take a student and you just start throwing stuff at them and expect that something's going to change, everybody knows that won't work. It's the same thing with ads. What has already been tried, maybe by you, but maybe by somebody else. How are they running their ads? What about this niche? What are, people working on? And then I spend so many hours researching before I do anything. And that's something I learned from AdSkills is you need to do that. It's number one important. And so the same research that I used to do with children, I now just do with ads. And I go on, online and find where my competitors are and what have they already tried. And then once I have this plan in place of my audiences that I'm going to hit and why and my budget, that's another huge thing I learned, from Justin was, know that your numbers are going to work before you do it. You can't just throw stuff out there and hope it sticks. And then watching it, and seeing. And so I get the same enjoyment that I was getting out of teaching as I do this because I'm watching. I get almost excited when I launch something and I wait a couple of days and I'm checking it out. Did it work? Oh, it's working. This is not working. And, optimizing. And so for that, I'm glad that I didn't need to give up any of the excitement that I have in my career. I also didn't want to find something. I didn't want to be an agency owner, but I didn't want to just be kind of stagnant in what I'm doing. And I love that that's not the case, that I'm always learning, that there's other, opportunities out there to grow and to do different things. As far as my family, I love I have a daughter in high school, and she's like, I love that you're home. I love that, we get to talk now. You pick me up from school and we have these conversations. We're now the house where everybody hangs out. I wasn't home before. So now I pick up everybody at 3:00 and, they're hanging out in my garage and they're out in the backyard. And I feel like I'm more connected with my family. I am way less stressed. Anybody that tells you teachers are stressed, there's no word to explain the level of stress as a teacher. And I, even when I was home, I mentally wasn't home. I was grading papers. I was thinking about kids, and I love that. And that's definitely benefited my family, that I'm present when I'm home. And so it's been a great change all the way around.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So when it comes to the AdSkills resources and the support that you've gotten, we kind of talked about at the beginning, it seems like the information in the courses was really valuable. It helped you kind of get up to speed. But now where you're at, what do you think the most valuable thing on a daily basis is for you?
Pro League. Just having that. Even today, this morning I was on and I asked a question. We've been testing something, and it's, what I thought it would do is not what it was doing. And because it's new, nobody knows. Nobody in my agency were like, we're testing it. Let's see. Well, let's see if what it's doing for other people. And so having that, and I still do go through and just read what other people are testing, what they're doing. So I feel like I have this community to reach out to. And even if I'm not reaching out with my own questions, to just see what people are saying, what they're testing, what they're trying, to get ideas from. Like, oh, that's a great idea. I didn't think about doing it that way. So that's huge. And I will forever be a part of Pro League for that reason.
That's awesome. No, thank you so much. Like, this has been great. I think this explains the entire story, especially on the emotional side, right? Whenever you're making a career change, it's tough. It's a very difficult thing. And I think that's the piece of understanding how we can continue to help people, the education, the built-in opportunities, the support, the fact that people are always looking for media buyers and having access to those opportunities without having to have 10 years of experience. All you really have to do is have the desire, the willpower to come in, roll up your sleeves and get started, and you can get to where you want to be. And then finally, the support that's going on. So that's amazing. Can you, if you were looking back and talking to the, Tracy, from the day that you heard that your son was going to have to stay home and that you were going to have to take leave, if you could give any advice to yourself back then, what would you say kind of for someone in the moment who's experienced a change in their life? They're making, they're weighing a big decision, especially from the perspective that you don't want to be a business owner. I think that's what's most important right here is you want to be a part of something that you enjoy, that you can get better at, but you don't want to have to go start your own agency or have necessarily a lifestyle that's traveling the world. Like, you can do what you want to in the scope that you're comfortable with. How would you kind of go back and explain to yourself, how you would take that decision? Would you do this risk again?
For sure. In a heartbeat. I think one of the things that I had the hardest time with it, if I could tell myself, is you're learning more than you realize. Don't give up. Don't lose confidence in what you're learning. That was the hardest thing for me. And I think for anybody that I talk to about taking this risk is you feel like you're not learning very much very quickly. You feel it can be overwhelming at times to have all this new information. But if you sit back, I'm actually working with someone right now that's starting. And she said, it's been 3 weeks and I just feel like there's still so much to learn. And we looked back at what she can do now that she couldn't do 3 weeks ago. And I think that's the thing that you have to keep remembering is that, every little bit that you are learning can be applied somewhere, so you don't have to know it all in order to do something. And that's definitely something that I would tell myself to just keep going, that you can do it and that you're doing great. That just like you said, as long as you have the willpower and the desire to learn and listen to what people have to say, you can do it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's been awesome having you on. This for me is a very special podcast because we're not just talking about, from the agency perspective, how can you come in and create results for someone else? You really created results for yourself. And I think that's what's so cool is we talk about, it doesn't matter if we can do it, if you can't do it too. And I just love the fact that you've made this total different life for yourself and your family. It's a very special story, and thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, if people want to ask you questions, if they're considering making this type of a leap, obviously you're available in Pro League. If someone else is watching this and they're, considering getting into media buying and they have questions, is that something you feel comfortable having them contact you? And if so, what's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. I would love to. I'd love to hear from people. I would love to help people with the decision. And you can, like I said, I'm in Pro League under Tracy Rye. You can email me. It's tracy.lrye@gmail.com. And I would love to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tracy. We really appreciate you sharing your story. And it's been so awesome having you on. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too.
If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure you click on the subscribe button on the screen right now. Also, if you'd like to join the Daily Edge and get the daily dose of what's working in paid traffic and tracking, you can text Daily Edge to 44222.